Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.
We're so pleased to have on an incredible country music singer, songwriter, guitarist, making a big splash with his new album, Unlearn. Griffen Palmer, thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely, thanks for having me.
You know, I heard these first few songs before your album released, and it's like, I got to get that guy on the show. How is all of this going with Unlearn?
It's been awesome. You know, this is my debut record, so it's something I've obviously wanted to do ever since I was a little kid. So
right.
Finally having it out in the world and for people to be reacting to it and seeing what they think, it's really cool.
Well, and there's so many good songs on here, and particularly the depth of the lyrics, like you and I were talking about before we came here, you know, to discuss it, but it's like, came here to leave. Probably my favorite track on the album. How did that one come about when you guys were writing?
Yeah, so I wrote that with Jeff Warburton, and it was actually the only song on the record I wrote in my house, so it's special just because of that. But yeah, I really just wanted to capture this feeling of like the very beginning of a relationship when, you know, all you want to do is hang out together. You don't care what's going on around
right.
you. And so yeah, I really just wanted to bottle that up, and that's how we got Came Here to Leave.
Well, you know, and I was joking you too, because it's like, I felt like listening to your whole album, which once again, I recommend to our viewers, you add the entire album, Unlearn, to your playlist, you know, however you listen. I've been recommending vinyl already. But it's like either you were coming off a hard breakup or either an incredible new relationship. And you said, no, it was really kind of neither.
Yeah, I think like I was really just thinking about the feeling that I've known from the past of, you know, that excitement. And, you know, I'm not too far away from the start of the relationship I'm in now, so it's still kind of fresh. And yeah, it seems to be a feeling that a lot of people can relate to.
Totally. Well, you know, I think also the big tester for the new relationship, in my opinion, is going to be how she relates to Monty Python.
Right.
You know, we'll see if she makes the cut. And I'm hopeful.
Hopefully this interview will like push her over the edge to like finally watch it with me.
Well, I want to bring this up too. It's like, you know, before really doing the solo gig, you know, you were a hit songwriter here already with Florida Georgia Line and Keith Urban recording your songs. So what made you want to do the transition?
Well, the plan from the start was always for me to be an artist. Like songwriting was more the thing I just fell into for other artists.
Right.
You know, when you're writing so many songs every year, a lot of them are just sitting around, and so I was lucky and some of them got to the right ears and people decided to put them on their record, which is really cool. Especially now that I've put out my own record, I know how hard it is to decide what's going to be on the project, so it makes it that much more special. Well,
you know, and you and Jeff, you know, when you guys were writing, came up with like 30 or 40 songs. How hard was it to narrow down what songs to put on this album?
It was pretty tricky, you know, with my management and my producer Joey Moy, like we all kind of sat down and just brought our favorites from the past couple of years to the table, and there's a lot of overlap, you know, it's some kind of outliers, but for the most part, like the bulk of the album we all agreed upon, and then it was just picking some last minute additions that kind of just added something we didn't have yet, or told a little bit different part of my story, or, yeah.
Well, and I feel like you're already a TV star because you won Songland. You know, and so Second Guessing, you know, came out of that, the song. And then also you've already been on The Bachelor.
Yeah.
So it's like, are you going to be going on like a whole TV show, you know?
Yeah, I think the Amazing Race next, and then maybe Survivor.
And they have to have Canadian versions of this so you can actually go, you know, between the two countries.
They do. Maybe you can do both. Maybe you can do like, you know, Canadian Amazing Race, then American, and
yeah, and then just write songs in between. You know, and I got to bring this up too. I think you're one of the few Canadians I know, you know, and obviously a Nashvilleian now, but that instead of playing hockey, you're a rugger.
Well, I actually play hockey too.
You didn't
I
fail
played a game
me.
on Sunday. But yeah, I grew up just playing rugby. In high school in Canada, that's kind of like the cool high school sport.
Well, it's a gentle sport.
Oh yeah, it's just very easy on the joints, you know, not a lot of danger involved.
It's not like you have to tape your head to keep your ears, nothing like that.
No. But yeah, that was like a big part of my life, probably the most important thing in my life for a long, long time.
And you went to college on a rugby scholarship.
Yeah, I went
so
to...
you're tough.
I used to be. I'm just like a soft musician now, but...
Now you got to take care of your hands because you have to play guitar, right?
Yeah. I was playing all up until a couple of years ago, and then I just got hurt in one game, and I thought, I can't do this anymore.
Such a great sport.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's one of those too, for me, you know, when you go, and I've got a lot of friends that play rugby as well, it's like, it's riveting to watch. because everybody is so into it.
You kind of need to have someone who understands the rules with you while you're watching, or else it's just a bit chaotic. But once you understand, or at least half understand what's going on, it's a pretty exciting sport.
Well, and I want to bring this up too. Then, obviously, with music and everything, with what you're doing with your new album, Unlearn, your dad being a musician also. What was the urging he gave you over the years, with writing and things like that when you were growing up around him?
Yeah, so he was always in bar bands when I was a kid, and he'd bring me to band practice all the time, and I'd go to some bars even when I was really little and just watch him. And he was just always pretty adamant that if I ever wanted to do something more than playing cover sets at bars, I really needed to write my own songs. So that was always just kind of being put in my ear since I was a little kid. And I started writing when I was really young and writing really terrible songs no one wanted to hear. And eventually they got a little better and a little better, and here we are.
So what does your dad think about it now?
He thinks it's really cool. Yeah, he got to come out on tour with me this past run I did with Lily Rose.
Yeah.
And we were joking the whole time. We're like, it took you 62 years, but you finally went on tour, Dad.
But it has to be cathartic, because I know my dad being a musician also, it was one of those bonds that we always had, just doing the music together. And whenever I get together with family members, I'm sure the same with you, we always have to play.
Oh, yeah.
We always have to jam.
Yeah, every holiday, whenever I go home to visit my parents' house or whatever, me and my sisters, my dad, we all grab a guitar and sing. And
so everybody in the family does some music then?
Yeah, everyone really enjoys music in the family, yeah.
How incredible. Well, now, I know with this album coming out, and it's done so well with the singles and everything else with Unlearn, more music videos coming?
We have filmed quite a lot of music videos,
right.
So hopefully they're all going to be out by the time this interview comes out, or maybe even after. But yeah, it's cool to put a visual aspect to all the songs. It kind of brings them to life in a different way. I
really like the videos that are out already, because once again, I think the depth of your lyrics, it's just, you don't hear that a lot. And also, you look so clean cut. I'm like going, is this guy old enough to bring on the show? Does he need to bring a parent? Does your dad need to come along? And it's but the depth of the songs and the lyrics are just amazing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I feel like I get that all the time. People can't really tell how old I am or anything like that. But, everything on the record's been from experience and just living life. And so I've lived long enough to be able to write the record, let's just say that.
And still, it's not a bad deal when you come to Nashville and you're signed on in 2019 for a publishing deal, to write songs for other people. That's not bad.
No, it's the dream for sure.
And you're still living it.
I am.
So I got to ask you this then, you and I talked about it before we came in studio. So when you're writing songs now, do you feel the need to kind of hold some back going, for my next album?
Yeah, there's always that thought in the back of your head that, is this going to make it on one of my projects one day? But I try not to get too caught up in that. I feel like when you're thinking about the life of the song or the future of the song before you've even given it a chance or before it's even done, you kind of get in your own way. So I just try to write the best song I can every day, and then it's going to end up where it ends up. If it's with me, amazing. If it's with someone else, amazing.
That's a great way to think about it. Also, I couldn't help but notice too, you had a few nice guitars out on tour with you recently.
Taylor's been really awesome, and they've hooked me up with a couple great guitars. And I've been playing Taylor's since I was playing patio gigs and bar gigs in college and stuff like that. So I'm really excited that I get to play those every night. And yeah,
it's got to feel good though too, coming from those kind of gigs, and now when you're out on tour, and co-headlining and doing all this stuff. And I know you're playing a bunch of festivals the rest of this year, but playing those shows where you really learned the art of it, and now playing the big stages. How's that transition?
It's really funny. It's like the act of playing the show is kind of the same. It just looks a lot different from your point of view.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like I'm not looking out at 20, 30 people in a bar anymore. There's a whole sea of hundreds of people. But I'm still playing the same kind of songs and doing my thing. So it's a very interesting experience.
But I got to ask you, is it odd now when they are singing back your songs? Because obviously, you and I both played in cover bands and all that kind of stuff. We were talking about the late Gordon Lightfoot. But it's is it different now when they're singing back the words that you wrote and are on your album?
Totally. It's very bizarre in the best way. Showing up to a town you've never been to before.
Right.
And there's people in the front row.
Because in Canada, obviously, everybody knows your music. But I'm talking here in the States, too.
Yeah. This whole past Lily Rose tour was all in the U.S. and it's very wild to just be in all these places and see all these people and people that are excited to meet you because they've heard your song on the radio or something like that. It's what dreams are made of. For sure.
All joking aside, when you go back home now to Canada and everything, are you kind of like a hometown hero now?
I know all my friends and family are super excited, and I don't get to go home a lot. So when I do go home, it feels pretty special. And, Yeah.
Well, I mean, also with the touring, with the songwriting, with everything else you're doing, and using your degree, right?
I technically am, kind of, in a way.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I tried to find that information and it was nowhere. Your college degree, so you got to tell our viewers, what you majored in.
Sure. I got a degree in communications and musical theater performance. So I spent like all my college days, half the day playing rugby and then half the day singing and acting and being on stage. So I kind of just treated it as like performing school for what I eventually wanted to do.
Right. I don't think that was, and you were on a rugby scholarship.
Yeah.
How many people get that?
Not a lot. Not enough, we should make rugby a little bigger.
I agree.
Yeah.
Because such a great sport, but I mean, it's so much fun though that now that you're like a Nashvilleian now, and you were doing all your songwriting during the pandemic here.
Yeah, I mean, it just so happened that like a year after I signed my first publishing deal here is when everything kind of went crazy with coronavirus, and so when it was on stay-at-home order, me and Jeff just decided to hunker down together, and his fiance, bless her, she let me move into their house for a while, and we just wake up every day and write a song, and we just tried to make it as productive as we could.
I thought it was so funny because I was reading some of the press release too, to where it's like, when you were going through that songwriting process, it was like, wake up, have some breakfast, write some songs, play some video games, write some more songs.
Yeah, that's basically what we did. It kind of helps too when there's no like pressure to like have a normal work day. You could work on half an idea, then go do something else, and then come back to it later. It just gives you more time to come up with the right idea or something.
Well,
like
and
that.
I've got to ask you this: with Unlearn, listening to all the songs, which just great songs. I mean, just the depth of them, the lyrics, the instrumentation. What are you doing merch-wise on this? How did you pick what you're going to do merch-wise?
Oh, we've got some merch out on the road. We got t-shirts and hats.
Yeah.
They're pretty simple, basic, just for the first run of stuff with our logo and stuff on it.
Because I was thinking you could do some cool stuff with like a broken heart, and just
Yeah, is everyone listening?
just all those like mushy kind of relationship things.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some room to get creative with this. So
I'm just
hopefully,
saying, I know a promotion and marketing guy. I think you could have some fun with this with the album.
All right, we'll talk.
We'll talk, definitely. Well, I want to make sure for our viewers too, for everything with the tour, with the festivals you're going to have all over the country, with more music videos, where should they go for the website and for all of your social media?
Yeah, you can check out all my tour dates and stuff like that on www.griffenpalmer.com. All my social media handles are @GriffenPalmer, so I usually post everything I'm doing there, so you can check it out.
And then maybe in your spare time, Griffen, I was thinking if you could do like short videos, like on TikTok or your website, and maybe give, rugby suggestions or hockey suggestions, things like that in between the music,
Sure, yeah, maybe I can like, play guitar and tackle someone. And then,
See?
and
I
score
would
a
watch
goal.
that. Come on, who wouldn't watch that? But don't damage your good tailor.
No, those are my babies.
Well, I want to make sure that our viewers, it's like, if you haven't heard the music, you need to check him out now. The singles are great, but the entire album, I mean, you want to listen to all of it, add it to your playlist. Griffen Palmer with Unlearn. More music videos coming out. Go see him live because you're not going to regret that. An incredible tour going on. I think more new songs coming out down the road. Never know. Stay tuned. And also incredible merch that we're going to be talking about. Thanks for coming on the show, Griffen. And congratulations on all the success. I think there's going to be a lot more.
Cheers, thank you.
Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.